Hello and welcome to Sports Today. 25th June is always a very special day for Indian cricket. So plenty lined up. You will have a very special Michael Holding interview. I will play the full interview tomorrow. We will play a chunk out today so you get to see a glimpse of it. We will play about 7-8 minutes from what Trisha has told me. So we will play that and then the full interview of about 35 odd minutes, 35 odd minutes will be premiered tomorrow. On Sports Today and also on the India Today television channel. So that you can get to see tomorrow. But we will play the Michael Holding interview about 7 and 8 minutes towards the end part of the show. Michael Holding on Black Lives Matter, on racism, on education, of course on cricket, is an absolute treat to hear. So definitely watch out for that. I will absolutely talk about the significance of 25th June 1983 in the history of Indian cricket. The day we started our journey in 1932, we'll tell you stories. The day we won the World Cup in 1983, we'll tell you stories. The same very day, 25th June 1932, 25th June 1983. But before that, let me start with some breaking news. I was following on Twitter, and there has been a lot of buzz about why India is not playing warm-up games in England. Why India did not play warm-up games, even ahead of the WTC. Why India is not going to play warm-up games against county sides ahead of the Test series going forward. And there is a lot of buzz. A lot of people have tweeted. There is a news item that the BCCI will request the ECB, and we'll ask for preparatory games, and it is only logical that they will. But there are certain problems. From what I know, India will find it very difficult to get games against county teams. Very difficult, almost impossible. And having spoken to sources in the ECB, I can tell you that at this point in time, ECB is not in a position to accede to that request. ECB will not be in a position to grant that request or agree to that request. And there is no problem here in terms of discriminatory attitude or they don't want to help, nothing like that. There are certain practical difficulties. India, at this point, I can tell you, will not be able to get games, practice games, like they usually do, warm-up matches, leading into the test match in Nottingham on 4th of August. So what will India get? Let's break this story down. India, at the moment, is slotted to practice in Durham. They are slotted to practice in Durham at the Riverside ground, 2 matches, intra-squad matches of 4 days each. That is what they are supposed to be doing, or that is what is slotted. So Indian team is supposed to practice in Durham from the 14th of July at the Riverside ground. 2 matches, 4-day matches, intra-squad, like they did ahead of the WTC. Why? There are several problems here. One, England's main team, the national team, is already playing white ball cricket. First, they are playing against Sri Lanka. Then they are going to play against Pakistan. The England Lions also have their fixtures. So England national team and the Lions team, they are not available to play any kind of county game with India. They are not available. So number 2, the counties are all busy with their Vitality T20 Blast. All of the counties are playing the Vitality T20 Blast, which is going to continue. So they are in no position to give India 2 4-day games. They cannot give India 2 4-day games. Number 3, and the most important, the county players are not in biosecure bubbles. They do not have that same rigid biosecure safety protocols that international teams, the Indian team or the England national team, has to adhere to. So the most important point that you need to remember is this is still a COVID-infested world. COVID is a reality of our times. And because of COVID, the players cannot breach biosecure bubbles or have certain biosecure protocols that they have to adhere to. County players do not do that. And they cannot just be allowed to meet anybody and everybody. For example, even if I go to England, will I have the same access that I used to have earlier as a journalist to and get an interview done? No, because there are certain protocols that one has to follow. Indians are still on the red list. That's a different matter. But even in England, the county players do not adhere to the same level of biosecure safety protocols that the national team does. And as a result, India cannot just randomly play against any county side. So centrally, 3 points. 1, the Vitality Blast T20 is on. As a result, no county team will be made available or can be made available for India. Number 2, the England team is already playing against Sri Lanka, following which they will have another series. So they will not have the players. The national team will not have the players to go play in any kind of practice game. The same for the Lions. They do not have any kind of window at this point because their season is full scale on. First, they have the Vitality Blast, and then they have their main showpiece, the 100. The 100 has been planned for years now, and as a result, there is a lot of hype around the tournament. A lot of financial investment has gone into the tournament, so they will have to do the 100. So because of that as well, England cannot provide quality teams to sort of play warm-up matches against India. And finally, as I said, the counties have their own nature of secure protocols, but definitely not the same as international cricket, which players have to adhere to. As a result, India will not get county teams or cannot get exposed to county teams in that sense. And that is a problem as far as an international team is concerned. So even if you do get a team, it will be a second grade outfit. And whether you will benefit from playing a second grade outfit is very questionable. Rather than doing that, maybe you are better off playing intra-squad matches to get yourself ready because acclimatization is already happening. You've played an international test match, you've played the WTC final, you've been there in the country for a month now. You will be there for another 20 days, which is your break time when you reconvene on the 14th of July. You've been in England for about a month and a half. So there's no question that you've already acclimatized. So what you will get for the next 20 odd days from 14th of July till the 4th of August when the test match finally starts is you will get intra-squad games. That's what is possible at the moment, or seemingly possible at the moment, is what I'm getting, having consulted sources in the ECB as well. The BCCI will put in a request they want to. The Indian players do want to play warm-up matches. Every team would want. But as I said, this is not a normal world. This is not the usual regular, that, I go there, I get a county game, I get myself used to it and go and play a test match. It's not like that. So the social media overreaction that, India did not play, the BCCI did not arrange, so-and-so did not happen, is all complete nonsense. So this is not how it is supposed to be. The BCCI, even if the BCCI makes the request, they will. Not everything can be permitted or granted or will be adhered to at this point in time. Number two, there was a news item that selectors will go to England, selectors will go to Sri Lanka. India is still on the red list. If you have to go, you still have to go via a country or a city that is not in the red list, like a Mr. Gavaskar or a Dinesh Karthik, because no charter flight will be done for two selectors. So for a Chetan Sharma, BCCI cannot hire a chartered flight. It is not possible. So the only option would have been to go through one of the other countries which is not part of the red list, stay there for that period of quarantine, 10 days or so, and then go to the United Kingdom. From what I know, I don't think the selectors will go. They will go to Sri Lanka, but with all of the COVID protocols, the fact that India is still on the red list as far as the UK is concerned, to expect that the selectors to go, I think, is slightly problematic at this point in time, from what I understand. So those were the news elements I wanted to tell you, and let me quickly take some questions if there are, and then I will go to 25. Okay. Is there a need of decentralized decision making? Hated word, chokers. Now we need ICC trophy. You will get an ICC trophy. What do you mean by decentralized decision making? The decision making is fine with the team management. I'm not criticizing the team, but the elephant in the room has to be answered. Why such a great team after dominating? A very good question, Yash Jajodia. There is no question that it is a concern. It remains a concern. You are going, you played into solid cricket, solid test match cricket for 2 to 3 years, and then you faltered. You faltered in the white ball format as well. So we've got to address the question. There is no question that, there's no debate rather, that it is a matter of concern that you failed in ICC matches. You've got to address that, and the monkey has to go off your back. And I will actually take that question in some detail. Why not play a test match with Ireland? Test match with Ireland, inter-squad games. Ireland as a test side, you've got to think about it. You've got to really think about it. Is there any Pratyush Thakur, why are you afraid in questioning the captain who has lost 3 ICC tournaments? Don't talk like a fool. What do you mean question the captain who has lost? MS Dhoni got to captain for long because he won 2 ICC titles, and he also lost 0-4, 0-4. Okay, when you talk sense, talk sense. MS Dhoni's test match record in overseas conditions is poor. MS Dhoni is a fantastic white ball captain and the greatest India has ever had. But as a test match captain overseas, poor. 0-4 in England, India did not even compete. 0-4 in Australia, half the test matches were finished in 3 days. So do not give me this MS Dhoni idea about test match cricket, because that doesn't hold. Questioning Virat Kohli, of course one questions Virat Kohli. And one will question Virat Kohli because you haven't won an ICC tournament. But that does not mean that you will castigate the team, that overnight, oh, this team is not all nonsense. People like you are a real issue. Because, the whole issue of fandom in India is either you are the greatest or you are the worst. There's nothing in between. Definitely question, be constructively critical. Ask the question about the tail. Why is it that tailenders are not scoring and conceding runs? Why is it that the captain made the point about intent? Make these questions, ask these questions. That what do you mean when you say intent? Both times India got starts, did not convert. 144 for 3 and there was a collapse. Why is it happening time and again? You ask these questions, but that doesn't make Rohit a bad batsman. Oh, Rohit doesn't play swinging ball. Pant is impulsive and indiscreet. Ravindra Jadeja not good enough. Cheteshwar Pujara, who all of us said, gallantry and valor and all of it post Australia has all of a sudden become a liability. Ajinkya Rahane not consistent. Virat Kohli lost the touch of batting. Come on, man. I mean, this is a quality cricket side which has done very well. And you know what? This is a question that will come up. Yes, it was a final and we are not giving any excuses, but what are the last 2 series that India has won? And make note of this point, and I'm very clear about it. What are the last 2 series India has won? The last 2 series, India was able to come back from 0-1 down. Now, you can say that, oh, it was a one-off final. Of course, it was a one-off final. We all know that, so we're not cribbing about it. But if you are taking away the fact, so you've got to think, is there a course correction down the line? Last 2 series, why is the Australia series a fable? Because India was able to come back from 36 all out and win. So you had the opportunity. Why is the 2001 series under Saurav Ganguly a fable? Because Eden Gardens was possible after being 0-1 down at the Wankhede, and then that happened. Then you could beat Australia here and in Chennai. So you came back. Why is Novak Djokovic's French Open win a fable? Because he was 2-0 down against Stefanos Tsitsipas and came back and won the French Open. That's why it's a fable. So when you are talking international cricket, when you're talking the Test Championship, maybe you've got to think about it. Maybe you've got to think that, the ICC has to course correct going forward. I know that it was a given one-off final and India did not do well after the first day. Absolutely correct. Absolutely right. India should have got 250 in the first innings after 146 for 3. India should have saved the game on the last day, after being 70 for 2. India should have done far better with the bat. There is no debate. But that doesn't make this team a bad team. The team that could do that, what they did in Australia, the team that has done so well in international cricket, and frankly, we've won multiple more series. New Zealand has played only at home. Largely, their games have been only at home. Is anybody going to say, oh, New Zealand doesn't deserve? Absolutely not. They 100% deserve the crown. They deserve the crown because they played quality cricket. But we've got to put it in perspective. We've got to put it in perspective that this is a quality cricket side. This is a quality cricket side led by a quality cricketer, and it has some excellent people. Ajinkya Rahane, Rohit Sharma, Rishabh Pant, Cheteshwar Pujara, Shubman Gill, Virat Kohli, and of course the bowling attack. It's a quality cricket team. I think it is time you be constructively critical and ask the important questions, but just don't castigate. Don't abuse. Don't be, oh, this team has nothing, oh, they qualified. If India collapsed for 270, New Zealand collapsed for 249. 249 is not 400. New Zealand did not get 400. Oh, India doesn't know how to play swing bowling. Which other side against India has put up a 400 score when we faltered? Very, very few times. In 2008, except that dreaded day at Lords when it was all overcast and England sort of plundered. Otherwise, when have you seen an opposition scoring 400-500 runs against our bowling attack in healthy conditions? So it is premature, and I have written this column today, if you read my column, that it is time to back the team. Be critical, ask the questions. It is an elephant in the room. Why are we not winning in key games? Is it important to accept pressure? Is it important to say, yes, it's a big occasion rather than trying to deflect? Like Sachin says, if the pressure is here, it will pull you down, but if the pressure is at the back, it will propel you forward. These are important questions and considerations that you've got to keep in mind. Owning Romondo, you were supporting ICC for a drawn match because you knew New Zealand would have beaten India convincingly. You're a fool. That's what you are. Of course, cricket for a drawn match. Cricket is the only sport. Cricket is the only sport that there is a drawn match after a 5-day game. Show me one international sport where there is a drawn match. Show me one. So there has to be this element of draw. There has to be an element of weather. Maybe that is why you have 3 games. You've got to allow a team to come back. And it is a course correction. None of us are criticizing New Zealand. None of us are saying, oh, they don't deserve. None of us are saying anything to the ICC. It is a COVID-infested world. All of us know the problems. And we also know that we've got to course correct a couple of years down the line to make this tournament what it is. Think about it. New Zealand played in one kind of condition, similar to what at home. India did not. Kane Williamson's side has been splendid, splendid. Every bit of the praise that they are getting, they deserve. But there are questions that need to be asked. Adelaide would not have been followed by a Melbourne if there was not a second test match. This was a one-off. So, and in sport, the ability to come back in a test match, the ability to come back in a series is equally important. So that is why the whole point. Why not play a test match with Ireland? I've answered that. Is there a decentralized? I've answered that. So, Mriganku Shah, WTC final. Do you think the management and Kohli himself will take a call? For God's sake, why should anybody take a call to step down? You've made a final. Kane Williamson, New Zealand made a final in 2015. How many people stepped down? New Zealand made the final in 2019. How many people stepped down? New Zealand did not win a single ICC trophy, Mriganku Shah, from 2000 onwards for 21 years. For 21 years, how many people have stepped down? What do you guys talk about, man? This whole this complete toxic fandom that either you are the greatest team in the world or you are the worst team in the world is a bane of Indian cricket. It talks about a disturbed mindset in this country, and that is an issue. That is exactly an issue, and I think we should get behind our team and support our team rather than making such kind of stupid comments. Okay, let's move to 25th June. 25th June is a special day for Indian cricket. I did take some questions, by the way, and there are plenty more. You can't keep taking questions because it's a very special day for Indian cricket. Time to give you some anecdotes. 25th June 1932 is when the journey started. And by the way, when the Indian team went to England for the first time around March, April, unbelievable newspaper articles came out in the London Times and other times. The one which said 18 players speak 10 languages. And they talked about how different it was for the team. Some people were accustomed to the warm weather, some accustomed to the cold weather because of the divergence in India. Some would go to bed early. And they kept talking about the fact that this is actually a team that was united in diversity. And then when India went on to start the test match, the problem that is there continued even in 1932. India started in the first half hour. England was reduced to 19 for 3. Holmes, Woolley and Lal Singh's run out. Fantastic. And Sutcliffe. 3 down, Birmingham Post said 24,000 spectators at Lord's. What a great start. And thereafter, again, India allowed England off the hook. They went on to score 250 plus. Douglas Jardine wrote after the game, which they won pretty comfortably in the end, that India will become a quality side in 10 years. Didn't happen. India won its first test match in 1952. But the kind of cricket that was on offer was telling. We had an excellent start to the first day in 1932. Fascinating as to what was going on. C.K. Naidu eventually led the team out after the Maharaja of Porbandar did not sort of take the field and withdrew in favor of Naidu. The backstory was about Maharaj Kumar of Vizianagaram and Maharaj Kumar of Patiala fighting for that captaincy position. Eventually, when Vizi lost out, Patiala too withdrew. And the Maharaja of Porbandar went there as the captain, but C.K. Naidu, thankfully for Indian cricket, stepped out at the toss as the first man to captain the Indian team in 1932. It was a very, very sort of grand kind of occasion. Great start, 30 minutes into play, 19 for 3 England was terrific for a young Indian team. Fast forward to 25th of June 1983. I will tell you 2 stories. One is a story by Sunil Gavaskar, an amazing story. That the final ball, it had rolled out, and after the ball had hit the pad, the umpire had given out LBW, the ball had rolled out to gully. Mr. Gavaskar picked up the ball and put it in his pocket. And listen to this anecdote. He picked up the ball, put it in his pocket, and he started running towards the pavilion. All of a sudden, he says, I felt somebody holding my arm like this. And someone's hand was going into his pocket. It was like a pickpocket. Somebody's hand going into Mr. Gavaskar's pocket to take out the ball, because he wanted the ball, obviously, as a souvenir. Mr. Gavaskar held his hand like this and kept on running. After about 20-30 meters, that fellow said to Mr. Gavaskar, I don't want the ball, at least leave my hand. And Mr. Gavaskar left his hand and continued. Several years later, when Mr. Gavaskar was in England, all of a sudden, a fellow came to him and said, do you recognize me? And Mr. Gavaskar said, no, I don't. He said, I was the same man who had his hand in your pocket in that 1983 World Cup final, and you held my hand like this and you kept on running. So I was the one who was trying to get that ball. unbelievably interesting story. The second story that I want to tell you about 25th June 1983 is Kapil Dev's story. Kapil Paji was the only Indian who had actually sneakily taken a bottle of champagne with him. The only person, one bottle of champagne compared to many, many bottles that Clive Lloyd's West Indians had taken to the dressing room during that 1983 World Cup final. Because Kapil Paji had this notion that India could well go on and win the contest. And after the match, when the Indian team came back to the dressing room, Kapil Paji being Kapil Paji, one of the greatest, if not the greatest cricketer to have played cricket for India, Kapil Paji first had a glass of milk. Yes, that's what Kapil Paji had. After the Indian team had won, they came back to the dressing room. Kapil Paji had a glass of milk before the whole champagne party and everything started. And a few bottles of champagne from the West Indian dressing room was brought or given to the Indian dressing room. And then it was all a free-for-all. I mean, everybody celebrated. Unbelievably great scene. So that's how it happened. But Kapil Paji and his milk will forever remain a great, great story because Kapil Paji drank his first glass of milk after winning a World Cup. He's an absolute legend. Absolute legend. So that's about 25th June 1983 and 25th June 1932. Forever will remain Indian cricket's red letter days because the journey started. The journey happened in England again on 25th June. And by the way, it was a World Cup final. Thank God we won. And I hope there's another 25th June somewhere down the line. I mean, as close as possible. Maybe not at 25th June, but sometime in November when the World T20 happens, because you guys are right. The monkey has to go off Virat's back. He needs an ICC trophy win. He needs a tournament win. And I hope and I sincerely pray that happens as soon as possible. So that's how I will end this special show. But I will leave you with Michael Holding. Michael Holding on cricket, on race, on education. For me, I was humbled to talk to the great man. For me, it was a fantastic conversation with a fantastic man. And one learned so much. Read the book if you can, because Michael Holding is a legend of our times and has given us a cause that has made cricket far more telling and far more relevant to our times than we can possibly conceive. So here's Michael Holding for you. The full interview premieres on Sports Today tomorrow. It will premiere on Sports Today tomorrow, but watch this, the 7-8 minute chunk for you today, leaving you with our special broadcast, 25th June, always a very special day for Indian cricket. Take a look. Hello and welcome to this very special interview with somebody who have come to admire over several years, not simply after having heard what he said last year, but since I was growing up in India as a brown man, did not know about these things then. I used to admire his bowling. And sort of admire his craft. But since last year, the admiration has grown manifold. And now that I've read his book, cover to cover, Why We Kneel, How We Rise, the admiration has since grown. Welcome, Michael Holding. Thank you very much for giving me this opportunity. You finished the book with the line, "We have a chance." And I was reading the book and I finished the book some days back and I thought, yes, we do have a chance. I mean, you have spurned a movement. All of us started realizing what we had gone through. Each one of us was speaking out in our own ways. And then we see a Ross Taylor incident in that World Test Championship final in Southampton. He's a white man. Crowd is more or less Indian, brown skin. So what is happening? Are we too indulging in the same dehumanization that you talk about in the book? And I was alarmed, worried, frustrated, angry. Your thoughts?
Well, first of all, I'm not absolutely sure of the Ross Taylor incident that you're talking about because I have not watched the World Test Championship. There has been so much rain and so much frustration. I've not really been watching it. But whatever the incident is, and whatever we are talking about, Boria, about trying to change matters, it will not change overnight. You'll always have incidents of racism. You'll always have incidents of people saying and doing the wrong thing because that is basically the world that we were brought up in. The brainwashing that has gone on over centuries is not going to disappear in a matter of months or even a few years. But what we are hoping for is that people will learn. People can accept that things are not right and they can change their attitudes by learning the true history of the world and of mankind. And until we can manage to get that all sorted, nothing will happen. But even so, it will take some time for real change to take place.
The point is, and like you have written about the discovery of America and America Day and all of that, but my point is far more fundamental. I mean, this, you mentioned the policymakers, but we know what kind of policymakers exist in our world.
Yes.
And there I want to bring you to the power of sport. Like Michael Holding on that gray day, cloudy, rainy day, all of a sudden spurned a movement. And you yourself write in the book that for a long, long time in your life, you had learned to internalize, let things go. I, for example, after reading your book, thought, oh, you know what, when I was traveling to Oxford for the first time, what I went through on the flight, and it was a British Airways flight, and you can understand when I was there, my English accent was different, and I learned to keep quiet because maybe that was my way at internalizing insult. And each one of us have gone through this, but each one of us are educated. What is education? Is education what we read, or is education what this human race is all about? That is what needs to change. And can you tell me what, according to you, sport can do in this? Because you are a sports person, you have the power to change the world in a particular manner. Tell me what your thoughts are on how sport can play a role.
Well, not just sport, Boria. Anyone that has a platform can help to put pressure on the people who make policy. If they keep on speaking out, if they keep on putting pressure on policymakers, at some point, because the policymakers are put there by us, the people who do the voting, we put them there. None of them are self-elected. We put them there. And if we speak up enough and we put enough pressure on them, they will eventually come around and do the right thing. So it's not just sports people. Sports people have a platform, yes, because we are well revered all over the world. People in India, Pakistan, South Africa know of me because I played for the West Indies. So we have some sort of a platform, but there are others, and everyone needs to get on board. Everyone needs to get on board and put pressure on these policymakers. Because as you talk about what is taught and what is learned, people at school, I go back to schools. Kids at school learn what you teach them at school. They will believe what teachers tell them. They will believe what seniors and elders tell them. And if we tell them and teach them the wrong thing, they will grow up in a society believing the wrong thing. And that is what has happened with racism. The white race has been taught and told and inculcated with this false narrative that they are superior to black and people and brown people. And until that narrative is squashed, and until we can get people to recognize the fact that we are just all human beings, we will struggle as far as racism and equality is concerned. And that has to start in the schools.
You have huge legion of fans in India, huge people who admire Michael Holding for the Michael Holding that we knew, not the Michael Holding who's an activist who has made us rethink the world, but the Michael Holding on the sports field. A message from you, the Michael Holding that we are now coming to know, to the millions who are continuing to suffer in India in some shape or form, because there is discrimination and we know that, there is inequality and we know that, and it is deeply entrenched in our society. A message from Michael Holding to all his legion of followers in India.
All I'll say to everyone is don't give up hope. Don't expect change overnight, but do not give up hope. Do not let anyone tell you that you cannot achieve what your dreams say that you can. And one day we will be better off. And when I say we, I don't mean you and I, because this thing is going to take time. We as a race, we as humans will be better off. And that is what we are striving for. Our parents worked hard to make things better for us, their kids. We have to work hard to make things better for our kids. And so the lineage continues. Each generation works hard to make things better for the next generation. If you only want to make it better for yourself, that is just showing selfishness. And we have to plan long term. And that is what I like to tell everyone. Do not think just of yourself. If my parents only thought of themselves, I would not have achieved what I achieved. Let us think about the next generation and keep on thinking of generations to come and try to make things better for them.
I used to do a show called Inspiration with sports people. That is perhaps one of India's most watched sports shows. This has been one. I knew it will be. It is not something that I did not expect, but you are an inspiration. You remain a real life inspiration for me, somebody I admire,
Thank you.
somebody I look up to, and somebody I will always look up to because you've given me not sport, but life lessons. Life lessons that I will pass on to my daughter, who's 7, and to future generations. So, Michael Holding, more power to you, more power to each one of us to make change. Like you rightly say, we do have a chance.
Definitely, we do. And all the best.
Thank you very much.